staying with us tonight, the vetting for who's best suited for backing by the Mount Kenya region continues with the Reach Mount Kenya Foundation meeting the 4 One Kenya Alliance leaders and 2 new entrants, NAK Kenya's Martha Karua and UDP party leader Cyrus Jirongo. A meeting widely seen as a front for deal-making negotiations ahead of 2022. Who will the Mount Kenya Foundation endorse in the end? And will their choice reflect the wishes of the voters in the region? In a short while, we'll be analyzing this and just why the region is this upbeat on who to support ahead of the 2022 general polls. Also, on this hour here on Crossfire, a Pandora's box opened this week as secret offshore accounts linked to the first family were exposed in the now famous Pandora papers. A raging debate on both the legal and moral question of this. And my guest here tonight, Madira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua, who's here with me in studio, and Kitutu Chache Member of Parliament Richard Onyonka will be weighing in on these issues here on Crossfire for the next hour. But of course, remember, you should be part of this show at Akisa Wandera, at KTN News KE. The hashtag to use is Crossfire. Our text line is also open on 22155. Any thoughts, questions to some of the things that the 2 legislators we have in studio we are speaking to here tonight will talk about? I'll be sure to pose it to them. But first, before we get into the conversation, let's take a look at what Peter Munga, the chairperson of the Mount Kenya Foundation, said today as they concluded the meeting in a hotel, the meeting with the 4 One Kenya Alliance principals, as well as Martha Karua and Cyrus Jirongo. Let's take a look at that.
Know the responsibilities, as Bwana Gideon Moi said. But we also know 2 other responsibilities beside what you told us. One, as Mount Kenya people, we know will give direction to the country as far as our political direction is concerned. That's a responsibility we will not want to abdicate. Most of you would be wondering, then where are we going to from here? And let me articulate where we are going to from here. We've listened to you. 2 weeks ago, we listened to Raila Amolo Odinga in this same room. We have heard you. We have not yet chosen a preferred candidate. As Mount Kenya Foundation, as Mount Kenya people, we have no preferred candidate.
Right, that was the conclusion of where then do they go from that meeting. Remember, just about a week ago, the Mount Kenya Foundation also met with Raila Odinga, who's the ODM party leader, and Rigathi Gachagua, MP Madira, here with us. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here tonight. We will give the country direction soon, Peter Munga there saying, and we still don't have a preferred candidate after this now 2 meetings with the leaders. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Akisa. I think the Mount Kenya Foundation are on the right path to look for somebody to back, to protect their business interests and to enlarge their businesses if he forms the next government. This group of people is about their personal and business interests, and therefore all they can do is back the candidates whom they want. So they have not decided whom to give their money. And they should take their time and decide whom they want to invest in. As to that being binding to the people of Mount Kenya, they are lost. They have no idea what is happening in the mountain.
What's happening in the mountain?
They have no mandate. They don't speak for anybody. These are people who do not even know what ails Mount Kenya. These are very wealthy people. The people of Mount Kenya are down economically. They are literally crying. They have no food on the table. They cannot pay school fees. They cannot go to hospital. Their businesses have been shut down. They have so many issues that are so critical to the people of Mount Kenya. These wealthy businessmen have no idea what ails Mount Kenya. They are just very busy themselves, trying to position themselves post-Uhuru to get somebody who can protect their business interests and who can give them an opportunity to enlarge them further.
An argument that has been advanced in that particular meeting today is they tried to disassociate themselves with that notion that this meeting was for millionaires and billionaires, that in fact, some of those in that room have grown their businesses from ground up. And do you think then they would have the, that is fine. They would know what economic
that is fine.
Policies would work.
That is fine, but whom do they represent? Where is their mandate? When they are through with this vetting and this interview, where are they going to take the results? In which forum? Whom do they associate with? Do they call a public rally and say, we did an interview?
They talk about a Limuru 3 meeting.
Well, let me tell you what is happening. And the candidates who are appearing before these businessmen, it's also a very interesting scenario. I don't know why any serious presidential candidate would subject himself to some interview by some wealthy people on his feasibility or otherwise. You know, I think the Mount Kenya Foundation is serious in the sense that they are vetting and interviewing possible presidential candidates to determine who can protect their interests, and then they can put their money there.
Okay.
And they are in order.
Let's bring in...
What is happening, there is another vetting going on. Serious interviews with the real voters. And that is what our candidate, Dr. William Ruto, is doing. He's going for interview to the guys with the vote, directly to them, presenting his programs, presenting his forecast, presenting his economic model, presenting the interventions that he needs to put in place to revive the economy, and engaging with the voters directly you know, and also engaging with elected leaders, people with some mandate. You see, today if I had a discussion with William Ruto and we agreed on 1 or 2 things, I have a forum to take that to the people of Madeira. This wealthy men at Safari Park, the matter we just said there. All right, let's bring in Richard Onyonka there. And thank you very much for agreeing to join us. He's joining us virtually. Honorable Gachagua here talks about that the leaders who have gone to these meetings are wasting their time because they are not meeting those who have the vote, or those who will line up on August 9th, 2022 to cast their ballot.
Agisa, thank you. Thank you for having me this evening. And I would like to say hi to Mheshimiwa, who is my friend. I think when he was talking, he kind of made me feel like he's talking, he agrees with what the Mount Kenya Foundation is actually doing, but then he says how useless they are and how they have nothing to offer to the people of Central. The truth and the reality is the politics of Kenya today is based on interest protection, whether it is the people of Central figuring out who they feel comfortable that is going to make sure that protects their interests. The reason why this team is sitting down to talk is because I think it makes sense. And indeed, for some of us, like me, somebody who comes from Kisii, this is something that I would want also if we had the Kisii Foundation, which is also sitting down to discuss, to say, what is it are you going to do for us if you become president? I don't think that the idea that these rich people, which they are, and most of them have made their money legitimately, they have not stolen it, I presume, and these are people who have companies and factories and hotels, and they have an interest. So they want to have a president. And this is something that is done all over the world. If you go to America, the people who defended Donald Trump are the people who had a desire that taxes are reduced for the rich, and Trump did that, and he became president. So I don't see any contradiction in the people of Central, especially the Mount Kenya Foundation getting together to then decide who they are going to vote for. What we are learning from Central is
all right, we seem to have lost him for a bit there, but we will be getting back to him. Okay, I think we have... Yes, go ahead.
We are also, and indeed, as a community and many communities in Kenya, it is important that we begin to discuss these issues. And Kenyans, even when we are in totality as a Kenyan community, we then end back being smaller communities where we come from. I mean, you notice you have ANC, you have Ford Kenya, you have other parties that are going to come in and start negotiating and discussing the...
All right, technology is letting us down there, but he's made his point. This would not be a new thing, and there's no harm in trying to protect your interests in a particular election.
Absolutely.
But
the wealthy men are in order to meet and discuss with presidential candidates who will protect their wealth and even expand it more. They are in order, but they are not doing it on behalf. That's what I'm saying is.
Of the people.
I'm saying they are not doing it on behalf of the people of Mount Kenya. They are doing it for themselves, and they are in order, and everybody is entitled to protect his interests, but they are not protecting the interest of the people of Mount Kenya, because the people of Mount Kenya have had serious challenges, and these people are not there. Real challenges. We have had our goods that were seized and confiscated in Nyamakema, in Dithuri, in Latema, and torched in broad daylight, worth billions of shillings. The Mount Kenya Foundation never met to condemn it or to make some intervention. You know, we had very serious evictions, very brutal, in the middle of pandemic, in Kariobangi, in Ruai. The Mount Kenya Foundation never met to discuss that one. We have had very serious violence in Laikipia, and where people have been displaced and they are staying in churches and in schools. The Mount Kenya Foundation never met to discuss interventions on food, on blankets, on medicine, and assist those people. When the real issues concerning the people of Mount Kenya needed some intervention, they were not available. But now they are available to meet presidential candidates to discuss their wealth and its protection and its expansion. And I'm saying there is nothing wrong. They should continue. All I'm saying is they cannot purport that they are doing it on behalf of the people of Mount Kenya. One, they have no mandate. Two, when there were serious issues that concerned the people of the mountain, they were not there.
But then Peter Munga is saying, we will give direction to the country soon. What do you think?
They give direction as who? You know, Akisa, you know, sometimes, sometimes you really laugh, you know? When some wealthy people, other than having wealth, what gives them the authority to give direction? Even President Uhuru Kenyatta, who comes from the mountain, we have told him he cannot give us direction. And he is elected, by the way, he has a mandate. We have told him, you know, you wanted to be president for 10 years. We have given you 10 years. Please, you know, wind up, and retire. Can you emulate President Mwai Kibaki? Because President Mwai Kibaki, and we have a lot of respect for that old man, he did a tremendous job of turning the economy around. He developed institutions, he allowed democracy to prevail, and he changed people's lives. There was money in the pocket, there was a lot of money in circulation, businesses grew, he opened up the country. But when the time to go home reached, he never attempted to give direction to the people of Mount Kenya, because the people of the mountain are not like that. So if we have told President Uhuru Kenyatta, please, Mr. President, you know, wind up and retire so that you gain your respect and your dignity. If the president cannot give direction and he is elected, these wealthy men saying that they are going to give direction, they will give direction as who?
The feeling here, and quite a number of pundits have alluded to this, that it is a front for negotiations ahead of 2022. They've made it clear that they will not be meeting your leader, Deputy President William Ruto. They've met with Raila Odinga. We saw new entrants today, actually. What does that mean? Seeing Martha Karua and Cyrus Jirongo part of this meeting.
I'm saying they are right to say they will not meet William Ruto. William Ruto is already engaging the voters directly. He doesn't need to meet these people. They have 50 or 100 votes or so. William Ruto is engaging 7 million people directly on a daily basis. Let Raila Odinga, let Musalia engage these 50 people, and let these 50 people see what they can do for them. William Ruto is engaging elected leaders like ourselves, people who have a mandate. He is engaging the voters directly, you know. This, tomorrow, he'll be in Kajiado East, you know, to receive Peres Tobiko, who has joined the Hustler Nation because of pressure from the ground. On Saturday, he'll be in Nyahururu, he'll be in Dodo, he'll be in Nyanyuki. On Sunday, he'll be in Isiolo. He is talking to the people directly. And I'm telling you, Akisa, what is happening. Today, myself, I cannot give direction to my wife, myself, my own wife, who I've married and I've paid dowry. I cannot give her direction whom to vote for. She has a mind of her own. My own children have told me they'll vote for me. They'll vote for Ruto not because of me, but for their own reasons. They have told me they'll make independent decisions on who they'll vote as governor. Even the people of Madeira have told me, Akisa.
Okay. And maybe
look
at
for
this
your
point...
vote. They have told me, look for your vote. We have allowed you to look for that for Dr. Ruto.
Okay.
Other seats don't tell us.
All right. And maybe at this point, just for the sake of our viewers, we're having a problem with a connection with Kitutu Church, a member of parliament, Richard Onyonka. We're really trying to sort that out. And once we get him, we'll be getting back to this conversation with him. So when you see some of the leaders, because, and back to what I was trying to ask earlier, pundits are saying that they're coalescing to form a formidable coalition against Deputy President William Ruto. When you see some of these arrangements and some of these strategies being put in place right before our eyes, we maybe not have the nitty-gritties of what's going on behind our scenes, but you can see that there's a coalition information coming. What is the game plan to counter that?
Well, Dr. Ruto entered a coalition with the Hustler Nation 3 years ago. These guys are late. They are running around looking for coalitions with the tribal leaders, with some wealthy people. They are rather late in the day. Dr. William Ruto has one huge coalition that is tribeless, that does not respect ethnicity, that is put together by a need to revive the economy, that is coalescing around him because of its economic model and economic interventions. And we are very happy with that coalition. So those others are making coalitions now, and they need to hurry up. You know, time is going. You know, we have 8 months before the elections. Yeah. They haven't gotten a presidential candidate. They don't have a party. They don't have an economic model. On our part, we have a presidential candidate. We have a party, the UDA. We have an economic model, the bottom up. As we are ready to go, and by the way, now we are on the campaign trail. Let nobody tell you that we are just now doing development. No, we are out there building our party, setting our economic model, and looking for presidential votes, and trying to build a party so that we have majority in both the Senate, in the National Assembly, in the county assemblies. These guys are yet to agree on a presidential candidate. They are yet to agree on a party. They are yet to come up with an economic model. All they are doing is criticizing our economic model, but they haven't given an alternative. So we are not bothered about those coalitions. I can confirm to you that ourselves are comfortable with our coalition, the coalition of the Hustler Nation, one huge mass movement. And I can tell you, I've just come from Kiligoris. The vibe, the electricity in terms of connectivity with the people is amazing. Kisa, this is my 4th succession. Okay. I've had these successions. I've been through. This is my 4th one. You know? And hopefully my last. Yeah, I'd like to also retire with Dr. William Ruto in 2032. I have seen these things, and I can tell you, I'm out there. I've come from Narok. Okay. I can see what is going on. All right. I am traveling around the country. I'm talking to people, and we are happy with our coalition. Okay, I want us to now bring in Richard Onyonka. I will give him some more time just to articulate some of the issues that are being raised here. And looking at this particular meeting with One Kenya Alliance leaders, and I'll just pose the question that I've asked Honorable Gachagua here, that it looks like a coalition in the making where deals are being negotiated in form of this particular meetings that are being called vetting processes. Are we likely to see something like that? Is it in the offing?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I was actually listening to my brother Gashagua's diatribe. I think he was just campaigning for the DP. can we discuss the issues that are on the table without necessarily going into this campaign? I don't want to use some other expletive. The reality and the situation we have is that people, whether they are the wealthy, the truth is we have a capitalistic society. And this society, the foundations were laid from the times of independence. I hear Mzee Gachagua talking about how they are coming with these miracles of going to plan and come up with these solutions, and nobody has. The solutions have always existed. Jubilee has been in power for the last 9 years. The Deputy President, Honorable William Ruto, has been part of that government for the last 7 years. The issues which have affected this country have nothing to do with anybody wanting to say, oh, you know, Central is the one which is going to determine the presidency of Kenya. For me, my history is very simple. We had elections for the last 3 terms. During those elections, whether some people will say Raila won, others will say he didn't win, those elections had issues. It has taken us this long for us to then come to where we are discussing what we discussed most probably 10 years ago. My request to Honorable Gachagua is very simple. Your candidate is formidable. The other individuals are forming coalitions and discussing them. Please do not disparage them and think that these are all nonsensical discussions which mean nothing. The truth is, in any capitalistic society, the owners of capital would want to know which are the safe hands that they're going to leave the administration on. If you look at what is happening right now, all the governors who are going to finish their second terms would like to get somebody who can take over, who has safe hands, somebody who's going to continue from where they left. I believe President Uhuru Kenyatta, from what I hear my brother Gachagua discuss, that Uhuru has no business, pack your boots and just go home. President Kibaki tried to negotiate to have Musalia become president, and then there were issues which
All right, right again. But that particular link has just frozen. We're having quite a challenge tonight here. Richard Onyonka there making some important points on what are the issues on the table, where have we come from, where are we heading to. Perhaps maybe I'll just let you respond to that first.
First and foremost, it is good, my brother, Honorable Onyonka, agrees that these are owners of capital who are meeting. And it is right and it should be to discuss capital, the owners of capital, for their own benefit. On the other side, there are those who don't own capital. There are those who are looking for employment. There are those who are looking for capital to start small businesses. They are also having their meetings directly with the candidate. Okay. I want to tell the Honorable Onyonka, Mwai Kibaki never tried to back Mudavadi. It was people around Mwai Kibaki who tried to force Mudavadi. Yeah. And the people refused. You know, the people said, no, we want Uhuru Kenyatta. We have already made a decision. This is our candidate. We don't want the Kibaki people to tell us where to go.
Is that the same thing you're telling the president?
Yeah, that's what we are telling him. Okay. Exactly what happened. And the president is a beneficiary of the people's power. Because if the guys around Kibaki had their way, Uhuru was supposed to step down for Musalia Mudavadi. Okay. But the people said no. So the president knows that he has been a beneficiary of the people's power, and he knows how little it is. So I'm sure in the fullness of time, at the appropriate time, yeah, he will allow the people of Kenya to make an independent decision. I'll
let you finish your points, Honorable Onyonka, because you had a problem with your network. But also, as you do that, perhaps respond to the question of Oka leaders. Seemingly, these meetings look like forums to help convince them to support Raila Odinga in a presidential bid. Because when we are talking about forming a formidable coalition, there's then a conversation on who will be the strongest person to go head on in 2022.
The point I wanted to make is that the Mount Kenya Foundation is not part of government. In fact, if Honorable Gachagua thinks they're useless, he doesn't even have to bother what they do. I understand exactly what his argument is, because I remember him having said that the Mount Kenya Foundation doesn't want to meet with DP William Ruto, blah, blah, blah. The point I want to make that is very simple is this. Kenya is a country that is at a crossroad. We are in a position where we are trying to make a decision whether William Ruto will be elected president or Raila Odinga will. I believe that it is important that Raila is given the capacity and the capability on his own volition to go to Mount Kenya region, try and discuss and raise issues which affect the Mount Kenya people, including the national issues. I believe the DP should also be given the same opportunity, and he should also engage the people of Central. If Honorable Gachagua believes that Mount Kenya doesn't need President Uhuru, so be it. If he believes that these people known as Mount Kenya Foundation are inept and in fact they have no role to play in Central, so be it. My feeling, an honest, sincere feeling, is that let us go to the elections where we're discussing issues which are affecting Kenyans. And imagine, Agisa, today, I'm not going to discuss that William Ruto has been in government for the last 7 years and he's been part of the Jubilee government. And there have been issues about Jubilee, that our country, which by the time Mzee Kibaki left, we were only 960 billion into debt. Right now, our country is 10.2 trillion shillings in debt. And William Ruto was there, President Uhuru was there, but Uhuru is not running for president. William Ruto is running for president. Agisa, the question I would want to ask Kenyans is very simple. If you had a primary school or secondary school teacher and the school didn't have a debt, and you have the primary headmaster and the deputy having a debt increase from 10 million to 100 million, would you promote those people to then go in and run an institute or a university? The answer is obviously no. So there are many issues that Kenyans are going to interrogate. It has nothing to do with the problems of the people of Central. All Kenyans have problems. The poverty in Kenya is poverty that is not a poverty that was created deliberately, but is poverty because of poor policies which were instituted by the Jubilee government for the last 10 years. And I wouldn't want Honorable Gachagua to turn around and say, oh, you know, the problem is everybody's fighting Honorable William Ruto. William Ruto is one of the smartest politicians. He's intelligent. He's somebody I would wish to be a president. But all we are asking is, he was part of the Jubilee government, and he must be answerable to the questions on why our country got where it is.
You can distance yourself from that. Deputy President William Ruto cannot distance himself from the failures of the Jubilee government.
Deputy President will take credit for what happened in the first term. He will take responsibility for the failures of the first term when there was Jubilee government. We don't have Jubilee government, we have the hardship government. From 2018, we stopped having the Jubilee government, we have the hardship government. The hardship government should take responsibility for the failures and take credit for successes after 2018.
You'd be asking someone who's not in government to take credit for failure.
Well, they are in government. We see them with GK number plates all over.
They do not have the mandate and the responsibility from Kenya's Honorable Gachagua.
They fly military choppers. Those are not matatus.
That would be misleading, because they do not have the mandate from the Kenyans.
But they don't have the mandates, but they are in government. You know, today, you know, the people who lost elections, Wanga is a chairperson of the finance committee. And she, you know, that was previously, it was by a member of Jubilee. They came and took over most of the things. Myself, I was in the transport committee. I was replaced with George Alado. I'm saying, and let me tell Honorable Nyonka, Mwai Kibaki was a very successful president. And everybody admits he turned the economy around when he became president. Previously, he was vice president for 10 years under Daniel Moi, and the economy was in shambles. And you could not blame Mwai Kibaki. You take the driver. That is somebody to help. He couldn't do anything about the economy as a vice president. Kalonzo Musyoka, you know, was there. And he can't take credit for what Kibaki did. But when Kibaki became president, despite having been vice president for 10 years, and nothing much was happening then, but when he was given the steering wheel, the responsibility of running the country as president in 10 years. You know, he left unprecedented development, you know, so and economic fortunes for our people.
Let me just get this right for the sake of our audience. Vice presidents can't quite take credit for successes because they were not at the helm, right? But then we are seeing Dr. William Ruto take credit for successes of the first time, like what he just said.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying for the first term, he was there helping the president. The second time, he was put aside. Everybody knows, even as the 94 child knows. I mean, deputy president has no responsibility. All his responsibilities were given to Fred Matiang'i. So they cannot ask him that he's in government. He's not. He's just there. His work is just on Mashujaa Day. He'll be there to receive the president and then go back and do his thing. So let us not say that the deputy president can take responsibility for 10 years. 5 years, the first ones, he will take responsibility. For the second term, that's a handshake government. It's not the Jubilee government.
Well, Kenyans know they elected a president and his deputy as
and they know, and they know, and they are unhappy. And they are unhappy, Akisa. They are unhappy that the man they elected as deputy president has been shunted aside. They are very unhappy, I can tell you. And many Kenyans are unhappy that they elect somebody, they give him a mandate, then the president decides, you know, without consulting the people, to put him aside and put somebody else. Kenyans are unhappy because this was a joint ticket. When I went to elect President Uhuru Kenyatta, Akisa, and he's my friend and my former boss, I found his name there. Alongside there was William Ruto. I liked both as a pair, and I put a tick to both of them. You cannot chase away one without asking me and ask me to continue saying it's okay. It isn't.
Well, Kenyans would also argue that they're unhappy to see a deputy who came out too strong and whose ambitions were too much that he forgot his responsibilities as a deputy.
That's a broad point.
I want us to close on this before we get into the Pandora Papers, but the big question right now, Honorable Onyonka, why this much attention to the Mount Kenya region? Why? What is special about this region? Why the Mount Kenya Foundation? I imagine, like you also mentioned, there are business communities in all the other regions. Why are we not paying attention to them, but to this Mount Kenya Foundation? Are they the deciders of who will get into office?
I would like you to allow me to just respond one question before I proceed to the to the Mount Kenya issue.
Yes.
The truth is, the Deputy President himself has said he's part of government. He has, if he felt that he was slighted and he didn't feel that it was necessary for him to remain there, if I was him, Jaramogi did it, Murumbi did it, he should just resign and move on. But he hasn't, and I'm not castigating him for having done that. Number two, I would like it to be very clear to Honorable Gachagua, Kibaki's presidency, which was a success for the simple reason that we were in the coalition government with Raila Odinga. We were monitoring each other. Corruption was minimal. The issues which were outstanding were constantly being negotiated and discussed, and therefore let him not think and say that Kibaki succeeded because he was a genius. No, Kibaki was a brilliant economist. He stuck his foot down and he insisted that certain things had to be done in a certain way. One of the issues that was outstanding during Kibaki's presidency was that corruption was a matter that made his government very careful because he ended up firing so many of his ministers when he was president. Number two, you asked me why Central Province is important. Central Province is important because as a region, it is a region which provides so many of the members in the diaspora everywhere in Kenya, and it's a community that is in all regions, including our region in Kisii. I would want Honorable Gachagua to notice this. Central Province is a region where all politicians want to go so that they can get a tap on the shoulder where they are told, now you proceed, our people are willing to listen if you come up with the policies we appreciate. In our regions, we also want everybody who is going to come. We want to ask you, what are you going to do with our agriculture, which is what Central is asking for? What are you going to do with horticulture? What are you going to do with animal husbandry? What are you going to do with industries and factories? Are you going to be a president after you win the presidency of this country? You take everything to your region and leave the other areas in Kenya neglected. I want to tell Honorable Gachagua this. Honorable Deputy President William Ruto, a man I highly respect, was part and parcel of the success, but part and parcel of the mess that we have in this country, where after the presidency came, Uhuru took his bit, William Ruto took his bit. All of us, all we've been doing is hanging on to the coattails and trying to beg them to give us development in our regions. What we are saying is very simple. We don't want that kind of leadership. We are going to negotiate with the people of Mount Kenya. We want to negotiate with the people of Coast. We want to negotiate everywhere so that when a president wins elections in this country, he doesn't employ people from his own community. He doesn't take all the development to his region so that Kenya can begin to develop independent of who you elect and who you don't elect.
Some would argue that this politics around Mount Kenya and the importance that has been pegged on the region is quote unquote holding these presidential candidates hostage. Are we placing too much attention on this particular region, Honorable Onyonka?
Central politicians and their business people are smart. You can see what they are negotiating. Look at what Moses Kuria is doing. Honorable Gachagua can dismiss Kuria, even the DP can dismiss Kuria. You can dismiss Martha Karua. The reality is they are beginning to discuss what they think their community needs to have. All of us in Kenya are going to demand, if the constitution can give us what we want, we are going to demand that we come up with political parties. If they are tribally based, so be it. Because once presidents take leadership, they take all the resources of this country. Look at what the county governments get, 15%. Look at what CDF is, 5%. 80% remains with the central government, and that is taken with the person who takes over power. We don't want that to take place again. Let them go to Mount Kenya. We expect them, the presidential candidates, to also come to Kisii. The Kisii community has things which we want done. If they don't come and discuss with us, we will not vote for them.
All right, I'll let you finish with that, with the response. And is the Mount Kenya region holding presidential candidates in this country hostage?
Not at all. The mountain is important because of sheer numbers. Nobody will be president in this country without support from the Mount Kenya region. It's substantial, in millions. Number two, the Mount Kenya region has a serious stakes in this economy in terms of the contribution to the revenue collection. So they are not people you can ignore. The Mount Kenya people are not holding anybody hostage. And for the record, Mheshimiwa Onyonka, the elected leaders from the mountain, the ones who have a mandate, have held serious negotiations and discussions with Dr. William Ruto. And they have not been discussing positions because we don't think positions is a solution to our problems, because we have the presidency now, yet we are in problems economically. We think that the way to go is to negotiate economic programs, economic revival. We have sat with the deputy president. We sat, 62 of us, people with a mandate, and discussed about GMR, guaranteed minimum return for our cash crops. We discussed about the Biashara Fund for the Hustler Nation. We discussed about evictions and demolitions. We discussed about an enabling business environment. We discussed about the health program. We have discussed very serious issues. So these people who are saying they want to negotiate on behalf of the mountain, others have already negotiated. And them, they can go ahead and negotiate. By the way, there is no problem, Akisa. Let the elected leaders negotiate with William Ruto. Let Mount Kenya Foundation negotiate with Raila Odinga and Oka.
Then you meet at
if they get a forum, they present what they have negotiated. Ourselves already, we are presenting what we have negotiated.
Okay.
Then we meet at the ballot. I mean, it's 10 months from now.
Yeah.
It's a very simple matter, by the way, and there is no very big discussion.
Okay.
And we are saying even the Hustler Nation, they are also owners of capital in a very small way.
Okay.
But if you add the little, yeah, it surpasses what those 50 guys have.
Let's get to our next topic. The Pandora's box that was opened this week, Pandora's papers that were released this week, an expose on how leaders across the world are stashing cash in tax havens, various parts of the world. We're talking about the British Virgin Islands, we're talking about Panama. I'll start with you, Richard Onyonka. This has elicited a lot of debate in the country, and now it is a fine line, a legal question and a moral question for the first family in this country. What does this do to the anti-corruption legacy that President Uhuru Kenyatta has been on since he was elected in 2013?
Agisa, I don't have the express authority to defend the first family and the Kenyatta family. But I can tell you this. I listened to that story. I read that story. And for me, there was no story. Let me tell you why. If you want to say that the Kenyatta family's fortunes, which have been stashed outside there in some place like the Cayman Island, and it's 3 billion Kenyan shillings, obviously, we all know the Kenyatta family is worth more than that. So first, even to begin in the analysis and discussion of what the Kenyatta family owns, I believe that story was done. The evidence that has been provided is not comprehensive. As I said somewhere else yesterday, I said this: all that we needed to be told is very simple. President Uhuru Kenyatta was elected president in 2014. When he came in, the amount of wealth that the family had at the Cayman Islands or in Panama, whatever it is, with the Pandora's report, was 3 billion shillings. Uhuru has been president of Kenya for 9 years. After that, the amount of money that Uhuru now has is 150 billion shillings. Then I would say, in 5 years, where did Uhuru get that money from? In 5 years, what happened that is so miraculous that that money is actually now being discussed, or why were they hiding that money? When you look at that report, nobody discusses whether that report was money that was left behind by Uhuru's father, or whether this is what Mzee Kenyatta left behind. And for me, Agisa, the reason why I dismiss the story is very simple. We all know, it's not a hidden secret, and President Uhuru has said this, and I'm not speaking on behalf of him.
Yeah.
The Kenyatta family definitely owns more than 3 billion shillings. So anybody who wants to politicize this story, or, Uhuru is corrupt and everything, I don't want to pinpoint who has hotels in Zambia, in Uganda, in Tanzania, people who have properties in Dubai. We all know that. The amount of money that has been stolen in this republic is part and parcel of the 10 trillion shillings that this country is in debt right now. So anybody telling me that Uhuru, their money is stolen, is only 3 billion, is wasting his time or her time.
Well, the big question is the perception question, and we know how that works in this country, Honorable Onyonka, and we should explicitly also mention that this particular report does not put the president and his family at fault. It just mentions that there's money in offshore accounts and 3 billion in one of the accounts, amounting to 3 billion shillings. But being a perception question, because one would wonder, with the kind of economy we have, and that's the argument by a lot of economists, that we would stash away just as much money. And we're talking about one account. We don't know about the other account. It's a perception question, Onyonka.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to tell me that people are talking about 3 billion shillings, which has been stashed out there, but nobody is talking about that there. And it is so unfortunate, because I have to discuss this, because I'm not a member of the Kenyatta family, neither am I in government to defend him. But we know that the assets, we know that the properties, we know that the businesses the Kenyatta family runs in Kenya is worth not more than, I don't even know the figure. It's an incredible figure. So my argument that I'm making is, you're talking about the perception. How many politicians in Kenya have been found to be involved in scandals where billions and billions of shillings have been stolen from God knows where?
We're talking about the president of the Republic of Kenya here.
I am saying if you are going to participate in trying to say, oh, Uhuru is worth 3 billion shillings, I would say, tell me whether that money was picked from a corrupt deal. Tell me whether that money was transferred to the Cayman Islands or wherever the money is being held. All these rich people hide their money out there. So for anybody to try and moralize this issue, for me, is a waste of time. Kenya's problem, Agisa, is not about 3 billion shillings, which you can say Uhuru has stolen. Kenya's problem is that we've borrowed 12 trillion shillings and half of it has worked. The other half was siphoned off.
Let me get Rigathi here to respond to that. The Pandora Papers, a lot of things have been said. It's now a moral and perception question.
Well, I've heard people say that it's legal. Fine. Slave trade was legal, but it's moral. 3 billion, one account, we don't know what the others are. The president has said that he's going to give a comprehensive explanation when he comes. But even as he gives that explanation, he has to really struggle to explain to the people of Kenya how, as president, he'll be able to lobby for people to come and invest in this country when he himself has no confidence in his own country, which he leads, you know? And you know, his family has banks. If they have no confidence even in their own banks, it's that they have to put money outside. We have an economy that is struggling. You know, we have no money in circulation. As presidents, in terms of morality, it doesn't sound very good that he is out there every day, you know, asking foreigners to come and invest in Kenya, saying Kenya is a good place to invest, come and invest with us, and himself, his money is out of the country. Number two, that 3 billion is not small money, you know, and if that money was here in Kenya and is put in a fixed deposit, you would have to pay 15% withholding tax. 3 billion would attract 450 million every year. In 10 years, that money would have earned 4.5 billion. That is money that can put 45 health centers across the country. So we are struggling with the revenue collection. You know, we are collecting like 1.5 trillion against a budget of about 3.1 trillion. You know, here we have the chief executive officer of the country and his family who are denying Kenyans revenue because this is his country. If that money, that 3 billion, and we don't know how much other money is out, if that money was here, yeah, we would be getting 450 million, you know, every year. But let's wait and for his explanation.
What do you think his explanation should entail?
I don't know.
What do you think it should entail?
His explanation should, first and foremost, he should bring that money back. Because we are struggling as a country, and we need money here. And for him to have the moral high ground to fight corruption, and to fight what is immoral and not right, you know, he can't preach water and drink wine. He has been very vocal, you know, in saying we need to do things the right way. He must start by example.
Right.
And he needs, even as he gives an explanation, I think, and you see, this is a leak. If there is no leak, he would not have talked about it. And these secret accounts are secret. Why are they secret? The source must have a problem. Okay. Because if the source is proper, you don't need to put money in a secret account. Okay. But let us give him the benefit of doubt.
And wait for his explanation.
Let us be fair to the president and his family. I think it is right for us to do so.
Okay.
But he must look at the moral question that as head of state, as head of government, it is difficult for him to go out there and mobilize resources for people to come and invest here when himself has found it necessary to take his money outside.
Onyanka, what kind of precedence does this set, and especially for public servants in the country?
I guess I'll tell you, corrupt people will always hide their money wherever they want. I'm laughing because Mheshimiwa Gachagua is beaten Uhuru into pulp. And then now he's turning around and saying, let's give him benefit of the doubt. You already destroyed the man. I want Uhuru to come and issue his press conference. He can come and explain whether that money was deposited in the account before his father died or after the father died. But I want to mention to Honorable Gachagua, who is my very good friend, the truth is Kenya's problem is not 3 billion shillings that Uhuru has stashed out there. Kenya's problem is the amount of money we know that Uhuru himself has mentioned. Kenya loses 2 billion shillings a day. Our country is nearly becoming a bankrupt and broke country. The amount of money that is being siphoned and that has been misplaced and that has been misused by politicians and all the people who are entrepreneurs in this country are known. My position is very simple. We are wasting a lot of our time discussing the money on the Pandora story because honestly, if, as I said, and I repeat, if somebody had come up and said the amount of money that President Uhuru has siphoned out of Kenya, either through a corrupt deal or through money which is stashed out there from some fraudulent ways, which when he became president, the money was 3 billion. After 9 years, the money has become 150 billion. I would then say, I think my president is corrupt and he needs to resign. But other than that, we're just running around in circles because I think the story about many people who have passed aspersions against the deputy president, I think Honorable Gachagwa's team feel now this is their moment to tarnish Uhuru's name. No. Uhuru is not running for president. William Ruto is and Raila is. William Ruto is not on the Pandoras. Raila is not on the Pandoras. Let's talk about Kenyan politics and let's move on.
Let's talk about what precedents it sets.
The president is very simple. We have a law. We passed that law which says nobody should have money. I think it was
foreign bank
2
account.
years ago. Yes, we passed that law 2 years ago. You cannot discuss that money retroactively. You can't go back and say, oh, if the president deposited the money 19 years ago, then he should have a case in court, therefore he can go to jail. I even saw a story like that in the media. The point I'm making is keeping money. Yes, you can argue about the morality of putting money in a foreign country where
in a
you're
struggling economy.
Yes, let me tell you this, and Agiza, you know, if today you got a list of how many politicians, MPs, governors, deputy president, everybody else, including even President Uhuru, who are hiding money in other countries where they have bought hotels, they have got shadow companies, they have got all, it would write a 500-page book. So for now, all we can say is, Mheshimiwa Gachagua is a colleague of mine in Parliament. Let us figure out how do we try and stop people taking Kenyan money and depositing it or keeping it in foreign countries. In fact, one of the things I would want to say is this. The other thing we can do as Kenyans legislators, let us allow other foreigners and people from the other African countries to come and keep their money in Kenya as a safe haven, because in money, nobody knows whether the money was stolen corruptly or not.
Well, the idea is to have a tax haven, and I don't think Kenya is one of them.
I think Honorable Nyonka, it's wrong for you to say that the deputy president and his team are behind this. This is an international scandal. It was exposed by 600 journalists, and that is why it is impossible to kill it.
More than 11 million.
If this thing was done here, you guys will not talk about it. You'd be intimidated. You know, we are happy that this was done internationally, and the deputy president and ourselves have nothing to do with it. And the president and ourselves, the way Onyonka is saying, we need to think about it, but the president must lead by example. In any case, he has been very vocal himself. You know, he has been very vocal, and he's been very lethal talking about these issues. And then, as fate would have it, he's right inside the controversy. He needs to clear it to the satisfaction of everybody. And you know, this is good. He said it will lift the veil and bring transparency. Yeah. And you know, there are many issues about the Kenyatta family that people would have wanted to talk about, but there's too much intimidation. You know, there are people who want to discuss about the land that they own. It is contentious. You know, there are people from the Mau Mau struggle who claim that land. Yeah. It is something he needs to talk about now that he has said we should be transparent and we should discuss wealth and how it was acquired. he also needs to open up about how his father acquired the land that they have. He needs to be open about the banks that they own.
What if he comes back and does that?
I'm saying it is good because he has said, and this is a very good discussion, the president himself has issued a statement talking about lifting the veil and discussing how money was acquired. He needs and his family to go back to 1963. Let us see when his late father left prison. It is recorded in his book, Facing Mount Kenya, he had 9 shillings. After 15 years as president, he owned a quarter of the country. It's something that is for discussion. And the president has said, well, let's lift this veil. Let us now discuss how money was acquired. Let us discuss how wealth was acquired. I think it's a good discussion. And I think that now that the matter is in discussion, you know, we shall be allowed to discuss it freely without too much intimidation, without too much harassment. But be as it may, let us wait, you know, let us wait, let's be fair. Let's wait for him to come back.
Onyeka says you're beating the president to a pulp, but
you ask a question. This country is a country with freedom of thinking and speech. You know, you ask me what I think about it. I say, to me and to many Kenyans, it looks immoral. You know, and I'm saying the president has been very hard on these issues and taking a very firm position. Then he's right in the middle. So he needs also to explain, you know, the way ourselves, we have been asked to explain our wealth in court, you know, and we have explained, and we are explaining. So also, him, he is lucky nobody will drag him to court to explain what he owns, but he has a responsibility. Now that he has said that we need to open up the discussion, he has a moral responsibility to the people of Kenya to explain what the Kenyatta family owns right back from 1963, so that the people of Kenya can interrogate whether by being president for 15 years, it was possible to acquire that kind of wealth in the right way, legitimately. You know, it is good for us to open that discussion, and I hope the president will be candid enough, not just to talk about what is outside the country, but also what is inside Kenya, so that we can have that discussion and Kenyans can be settled once and for all.
Honorable Onyeka, we don't have too much time left, but then at this point, and looking at this discourse and what it is slowly mutating into, how do you convince Kenyans that their money is safe, that a lot of their money is not being stashed away by those in power, whether acquired illegally or otherwise? How do you convince Kenyans that they're not being taken advantage of at this point?
Agisa, politicians have refused Chapter 6. 90% of your politicians, and I can put myself in that category so that somebody doesn't think I'm taking the higher moral ground. Honorable Gachagua is talking about the land question. The land question must be discussed openly with the Kipsigis. It must be discussed openly with the Ma community. It must be discussed openly with the people of the coast. The land question is not about the Kenyatta family. The deputy president has acquired lately for the last 5 years not less than 350,000 acres of land. Let us begin to interrogate our politicians. Where did you get this money that makes you run around with 9 helicopters, that makes you have 4 buildings in Nairobi, which are in the CBD in the last 5 years, and yet we know you had no money. So this story is not about Uhuru Kenyatta. Take down the veil. Look at all of us. Call Richard Onyonka and tell him what you have. Come and tell us how you got it.
Gachagua is saying...
Call Mheshimiwa Gachagua.
Yes.
Tell him, how did you have 13 billion shillings in your account?
Yes, but he's saying, let me just cut you short, but Gachagua is saying, let's start right from the top with the first family in 1963.
No, let us start. There must be truth and reconciliation in our country. Let us not even discuss from 1963. Let us go back to 1954. How did the Kikuyu community get removed from their land and transferred to the Rift Valley, where Kalenjins are bitter and are upset that they are willing to kill anybody because they believe they disenfranchise them? Let us be honest. We keep lying to each other, and that is why Kenya must change.
I'll have you respond to that, because we really need to end.
Honorable Onyonka, Gachagua is already explaining what he owns, in court. He was told, go to court and explain how you got what you have for 9 years. I am saying, let the president lead by example. In any case, he has been most vocal himself. in saying people must account for what they own. Now that issues have come up surrounding his wealth and his family, he must lead by example, and everybody else can follow. In any case, the one for the deputy president, his land, has already been discussed by Fred Matiang'i. It's already in public domain. So let's open this discussion, and we start from the president, the deputy president, all of us going downward. This is a good discussion. So let us not have a law for some people. You know, some people can explain what they own, then the president himself and his people cannot explain. Let us have a level playing field. Let us have a uniform application of the law. Let anybody who is wealthy, and especially those who have held public office and they are wealthy, let them explain what they own. We start from the president, coming downwards. I think it is fair and it is right.
I'll get your closing remarks as we wrap it up. What do we expect to see in the coming days, even as we wait for the president to give his explanation?
Well,
what do you tell
It's
Kenyans?
an interesting time. Everybody is on the campaign trail. And I want to encourage everybody to come to the mountain. Raila Odinga was there the other day, and we welcomed him. Let the other Oka principals come. Let them not go to Safari Park and waste time listening to some wealthy people. Let them do what Raila Odinga did. Come and talk to the people. Come and explain to the people what is your track record, what is your plan, what you have for them, in store for them, how you want to go about it, and that is a healthy discussion.
Right. Let's get your closing remarks, Honorable Onyonka, as we wrap up.
Thank you, Madam Agisa. I want a country that is fairness and justice and equity. I want a country where we must deal with our historical injustices. Let us look at all these rich people, including myself, who have either amassed public wealth, using public resources, disenfranchising our people, until we have reached a stage where we are talking about bottoms up, I don't know what. The reality and the truth is, historically, our country is a rich country, is a country that can provide for everybody. But what do? We pilfer resources, we misallocate, misappropriate, take government resources, become billionaires, and we want to run as president. And all I'm saying, Agisa, is very simple. If Honorable Gachagua is sincere, let us bring the Dungu report. Let us bring all the reports about how land in this country was unfairly acquired and wealth.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's how we wrap it up. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time, but a good debate here with Rigathi Gachagua, Member of Parliament Madeira, and Richard Onyonka, Member of Parliament Kitutu Chache, joining us live from Kisii. Next time, I'll be sure to have you here in studio for such a conversation. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here. That's how we wrap it up here on Crossfire. Thank you for joining us. I am Akisa Wandera. Sign language interpreter is Meresha Witi. Have a good night. Till next time. God bless.